On the 29th of December, more than 80,000 people tested positive for COVID across the UK, a new record. The number of deaths is up by 20% over the last week and will sadly rise further. And my thoughts are with all those who've lost loved ones. With most of the country already under extreme measures, it's clear that we need to do more together to bring this new variant under control while our vaccines are rolled out. In England, we must therefore go into a national lockdown which is tough enough to contain this variant.
You are now tuned into Club 100 TV. I chose to create this documentary to highlight the detrimental effect that these lockdowns are having on our economy. I hit all four corners of London: north, south, east and west. Some boroughs I did miss out on, but I chose to hit all the places that I thought would be or should be busy during these times. Behind me is Big Ben. Not bonging at the moment because it's under construction. Is this about a virus? Is it about control? Is it about fast forwarding us into a time where we are in a cashless society? Or does the virus and what's been happening just play hand in hand with everything that's going on right now? I chose to hit the streets just to see what I could see. Instead of sitting back watching the news, instead of sitting back hearing stories, instead of sitting back listening to my neighbour, I thought, let me go out and see for myself, analyse for myself. Now, as you can see, I need a haircut. Barbers are shut. This is just one of many things that people are suffering with throughout these times. Mental health is on a massive rise. I've seen more people take their lives on my timeline on social media than what I have people die from the virus. So what is this about?
My journey starts on the tube, an essential route for most so-called essential workers. At the beginning of my journey, the train was empty. Just me, myself and I, and stickers telling us how to keep a distance. The adverts and stickers were literally everywhere. The closer I got to central London, more and more people joined the carriages, including mine. I passed by Pimlico, where the platform looked literally ghosted. Just a reflection of another mask-wearing bearer. I soon arrived at Oxford Street, where majority of the train departed. From getting off the train to the exit of the station, there was poster after poster of more instructions on how to sanitize and keep the face mask on. Even going up the escalators, advert after advert was like on and on and on and on like Ariston. As I went through the barrier, there was no one checking how essential my journey was. Just another giant poster telling us to keep our face masks on. As I exited the station, it was clear to see that homelessness is still a massive problem here in London, with a steady flow of traffic visible along with the buses. For some reason, the other side of the station was closed off, taped off with no entrance. To the left of me, first shop I see, closed, with nothing but COVID instructions and a virus prevention posters in the shop window. People were still commuting, with majority choosing to wear a face mask outside. With more shops closed and stock covered over, Key Coach was closed. It's good to see that some road workers working. Whatever they must be doing, it must be extremely essential. The nearby Apple store closed, looking like a giant hollow apple, not wanting to be eaten. The shop next to that was closed, with nothing but another guideline sticker in the window. To me, next door closed, with nothing but another QR code on show for the customers. The sun was beaming the streets of London, yet with no life of happy shoppers to enjoy the weather. It's good to see another so-called essential key worker keeping the streets clean. As I approached Carnaby Soho, I was attracted by the bright, colourful row of shops with a few people walking around. The big pink shop on the corner closed off, looking hollow. Directly opposite, Adidas store was closed with zero chance of an Adidas sneaker selling in sight. I went back across to the pink shop, see the giant teddy through the window, looking exhausted. Rumour has it, it was self-isolated. The street quiet, with no one walking around. The shop next door had piles of boxes in the window. You would have guessed it was closed. The shop across closed. Next door closed. Just a few signs telling you how to stay safe, with more guidelines and a picture of two pretty butterflies keeping 2 meters apart. Green King, the local pub, noticeably closed. But you can always rely on a London pigeon to be close nearby. I also noticed a phone box, one of the cleanest I've ever seen. And one thing's for sure, essential workers, transsexual sex workers are still available. Carnaby Soho, what a pretty street, what a pretty weird street. Hamley's toy store for kids, plastered in Harry Potter memorabilia, closed with no sign of reopening. The traffic nearby was still steady flowing. I wonder how many people are doing their essential journeys. Tommy Hilfiger, the famous name brand, situated up Central. Oh, there's 2 joggers. Closed until further noticed. I see a black face mask floating in the wind like the feather in Forrest Gump. I bet it was his. With certain parts of the street barricaded and boarded up, surrounded by more empty shops. It's good to know the police are nearby to ensure all mask-wearing civilians can cross the road safely. I then reached Piccadilly Circus, home of the giant billboards. Faced with a pretty statue holding a harp, and to my left, I was also faced undoubtedly with giant adverts pushing more fear in my face. I believe it was at this point I felt like the guy from They Live. Stay home, protect the NHS and save lives. I was soon pretty surprised to find an ultimately clean phone box with no signs of COVID. That was a great sign. I turned to my left and see a giant statue standing with the sun beaming behind. Then again to my left, the Union Jack flying in full bloom. Well, not exactly. One of the giant statues read Crimea, with statues of those that have fallen before it. And noticeably, a famous history public figure and founder of modern nursing, Florence Nightingale. From the front of the statues look beautiful, with the lantern beaming, and to the right a statue of Sidney Herbert, a close ally of Florence. As I was leaving that area, there was another sign: hands, face, space. Looking down the strip to Buckingham Palace was a beautiful sight, with a few cars in vision. Elizabeth Regina on the railings, and a bright gold statue before it. Again, you can always bet there is a London pigeon nearby. With the palace looking quite a picture, the guards were standing on show, always on job. Armed police in the background, marking their territory. On the other side of the gate, tourists being tourists, obviously essential travel. Oh, and there's Boris. No, it's just another essential traveller, unbothered. In the nearby park, some of the people were exercising due to gyms being shut. Even in the freezing temperatures, shorts will never stop us from dropping the ball. Oh, maybe not. The Queen's Park, looking like a holiday park, not like our local parks. Oh, and there's a jogger. But don't get too close. With the Queen's fluorescent ducks enjoying life, not needed to social distances. Oh, was it something I said? Off they go. On exiting the park, I see an ambulance parked up, not looking busy because it really was just parked up. 100 meters behind it, there was another one. Just down the road, Churchill War Rooms, closed. As I was heading to the station, I could see Big Ben in the background, visibly being renovated. But that's cost a lot of taxpayers' money. A police car went past, sirens roaring. Upon closer inspection, all officers were wearing the face mask. Thanks for caring. As I got closer, there were more officers cooped up, plotting around each other. I repeat, cooped up around each other. I got a closer look at the monstrosity before I entered the station. Let's hope it looks a lot better when completed. For now, we must settle for a little version of Big Ben, stuck in a newsstand window we can't even purchase. Nice. As I entered the station, more posters telling the public to keep your distance. Quite ironic considering the station was dead quiet. No one in sight to check who's travelling, essentially not even a ticket man. The station shop, which sells tourism memorabilia, shut. The closer I got to the platform, there were more and more adverts telling us how to stay safe and keep our masks on. And as I got to the platform, it was noticeably empty. I decided to journey to Stratford, East London, and as I boarded the train, it was also empty, with all but one person in my carriage. The closer I got to my destination, the carriage did begin to fill, with all abiding by the face mask rules. Well, all but one, that is. As I got off, quite a few people also got off at Stratford, with hallways to the exits pretty quiet, and arrows pointing me in the right direction, supposedly. I'd arrived at Stratford, pretty much ghost town. As I was exiting the barriers again, there was no one in sight checking how essential my journey was. Although I did see a big sign with directions to the vaccination centre. As I walk to the right, I see a line of taxis waiting for passengers. Well, let's just say they was all dressed up with nowhere to go. The traffic nearby was evidently quiet, with no one but Auntie inside. I done a 180 to see my surroundings and thought, fuck this, I ain't walking no further. So I decided to head back, passing another mask-wearing bear. I passed some escalators which looked like they were on a road to nowhere, with a big sign, no mask, no entry, at the bottom. Oh, and there's another mask muffler. I then decided to travel to West London to see what it's like over there.
Mass vaccinations, depopulation, denomination. These fees followed Satan. Save me, this is modern day slavery. They really want to chip and pin my baby. The mark of the beast, scriptures from the Bible. They follow fake prophets and worship false idols. The rich still profit,
So headed
the
to the
mass is
platform.
suicidal. The future ain't promised, we fight for survival. ID 2020, Agenda 21. They ain't care, they just out here fooling anyone. We ain't scared, they ain't out here fooling everyone. It's do or die and I'll be there when that setting come. The sheep still sleep,
posters on
the rich
route,
still
right
eat.
again,
The rise of
everywhere
the
I
beast
turn.
from the Middle East. Free Palestine, find
Literally
Madeline. Do your research, the truth ain't advertised. Now pedos order pizza just to have a slice. And they ain't stopped there, they wanna add a side. The truth's so clear when you analyze how COVID got the whole world paralyzed.
It is not coronavirus. It is something worse. It is domination. It is
I decided to take it to Shepherd's Bush.
dictatorship.
People in their homes, feeling all alone. Depopulation scriptures written on the Georgia stone. Drones in the sky, the all-seeing eye. Corona ain't killing, it's just more suicides. COVID had a pattern, they knew before it happened. They're using it to use us and keep us all trapped in cashless society. Cashless the silence.
The train from east to west seemed more busy, with some so tired they fell asleep with their mask on.
1%, Govern 99. Celeb puppets turning a blind eye. Mainstream media spreading their white lies. Who really knocked the towers down? Who really killed Diana? Epstein and Savile was a royal dilemma. Crabs in the barrel drag you down when you get up. Everybody sick and fed up. Everybody pissed with the setup. The media, inside terror. And we just wanna live life better. Birds of a feather, two wings of the same bird working together.
It is all done under the cover of a virus. And I am a medical doctor, and I resigned. I quit my work I just got nauseous by finding out how corrupt the system is.
Passing Grenfell Tower was a sight for sore eyes. Especially this was the first time I've seen it since the tragedy.
For the best. And what I now find out is that I am trained to work for a system that
Grenfell forever in our hearts.
is dumb and sick.
I got off at Gold Hawk Road with the station visibly quiet. Not without a trusted advert. When going through the barriers, yet again there was no one at the exit. Not even a ticket booth man. The station coffee shop was also closed with no chance of an espresso anytime soon. I decided to go through Shepherd's Bush Market, starting with a sign saying only essential shops open. As I started walking, it was plain to see just how dead it was. From what I could see, over 90% of the market stalls were closed, which is pretty sad sight to see, considering how busy it normally is here. As I was exiting the market, the security guard was eyeing me up, dressed up to the bee's knees, looking like an Eskimo. Good to see the fruit stalls are still open. I came out and looked to the right. Visibly, traffic was flowing as normal. Wondering how often do the council sanitize these traffic light buttons, especially in busy areas. People were at the stalls buying some fruit, which gave some sense of normality. But like I said, majority of the market was closed off. Walking down the street, it was evident there weren't any street cleaners, seeing one of the filthiest phone boxes I've ever seen. As I walked on, the local vape shop was open, obviously an essential shop. With a mixture of mask wearers and non-mask wearers, with some shops closed, plastered in graffiti. Next door to that, Creams was open, but again with signs, the streets need cleaning. The nearby roundabout wasn't as busy as usual, but still many cars. I even see 2 COVID marshals. What the fuck? Good to see the market was operating to some degree though, even with some people deciding to sneak round the back. With more mask wearers passing by, I decided to go to the next destination, entering again to an empty station, heavily guarded off to check my journey was essential. Bye bye Shepherd's Bush Market. I got on the train as swiftly as I could.
The next station is Wood Lane. This is the Local Line train via Paddington and Bacon Street.
Again, soon passing Grenfell, I always got this emotional feel. This time I got an even better view, with the masking of the monstrosity plain to see. And the giant green heart sitting on the top, looking bright as ever. I soon arrived at Paddington, as I was heading to North London, Wembley, so I had to change. Quite a few also got off, again with stickers on the floor saying stay safe, leave a space. I walked up the stairs and soon exited the barriers, with nothing but another hand sanitizing station to greet me. Done a 180, no police in sight, still no ticket man. Hello? Hello? Is anyone there? Nope. Just another sign scaring me with a fine if I don't wear my face mask. Costa Coffee was open, ready to wake up those who were still asleep. And yet another sign of a fine if we don't comply. To the right was a rainbow wall of pictures dedicated to those on the front line, NHS and key workers, all created by the kids of our generation. I then took the escalator down to the tube station, overlooked by more giant stickers of guidelines. And yet another hand sanitizing station, yet again. As I went through the barriers, there was no one checking how essential my journey was. This time I was heading to North London, Wembley.
City Line has severe delays due to
Going down the escalator again, there was more and more adverts of COVID guidelines.
That doesn't make any sense.
When I first got on the train, it was quite empty. I passed Maida Vale, Queen's Park, Halsden, and home of the UK rap legend K Coke, Stonebridge Park. I soon arrived at Wembley, following the signs to the way out. Oh, hello. Again at the barriers, there was no one in sight. Quite evident that we had been massive cuts to the jobs on the railway station. Right outside the station, the perfume shop closed. So if you stink, you must continue to stink. I then took a stroll to the high street. Faced with more mask wearers. And yes, you just see that. A motherfucker just tried to cough right in my direction. The majority of people I walked past were wearing masks, obviously afraid for their health. CEX was open for gamers. Roadworks were still going on. A majority of the people were masked up. So far, we must applaud them. Poundland was open for your cheap goods. So too was McDonald's, with a couple delivery drivers lurking outside. What the fuck are you looking at, bro? Shoe Zone, closed. And so was 90% of the high street, with most so-called non-essential shops closed for business. I soon heard a woman preaching, so I stopped for 2 minutes.
He is eternal. So never mind whether we can see God. I know many of us, we ask ourselves, if God is real, then why don't I see him? It's for this one reason, he is spirit. But for the first time in history, 2021 years ago, God became flesh. Have you ever wondered why we're calling this year 2021? It's because of Jesus Christ. Because 2021 years ago, God so loved the world that he gave his only son Jesus, so that whosoever would believe in him will never ever perish in hell, will be given eternal life. I want you to know that God has a plan for you. He has a hope for you. He has a future for you. The word says that there's not one wicked thought that God has for you, but only thoughts for a hope and a future. And I'm telling you something, God's thoughts are incredibly important, because whatever God thinks comes to pass.
That doesn't make any sense.
Takeaway shops behind me, open. Subway, open. Clearly an essential shop, selling you shit food. Sam's barbershop next door, closed. I then got to Wembley Stadium with giant signs of direction to the vaccination centres. The nearby SSE arena, illuminate in the window, but with no sign of events. happening soon. As I walked further, it seemed I was getting closer and closer to the treasure, the vaccination centre. Wembley Stadium was barricaded off. I could only view from long distance.
It doesn't make any sense.
I then got a better look with the arch towering down the strip. To the right, no signs of entertainment anytime soon. Curry's PC World was open for business, but only for drive-through. What the fuck? Do you know what else was open for drive-through? McDonald's. Again, more shitty food. The traffic nearby was probably operating at 30 to 40%, but still enough pollution to make the locals ill. That and more rundown shops. I jumped on the train to South London, where noticeably our carriage was empty again.
It doesn't make any sense.
As I went through Central, even in these hard times, it won't stop the foreign beggars from begging on the train, handing out tissues with notes in exchange for money, and a homeless man wrapped in a duvet. The nearby A3 in South London was pretty quiet too, bearing in mind I was filming at lunchtime, so probably a lot worse at rush hour. Wandsworth, South London, King George's Park. For a day that was pretty damp, many parents with their kids were still having fun outside and embracing the air. With local sports facilities closed off to the kids of our future. I guess it's hard for them to hope and dream living in a COVID world, not knowing when or if the country will lock down. But even when they do come back, they will have to scan the QR codes on entry. With all schools off, parents have to utilise their time by going for walks, with some kids being walked by childminders. Nice to see the pigeons ain't scared of getting too close. Oops, you must have thought I was chatting her up. Alright, I can't make pigeon noises, forget it. Known for these iconic flaps,
Any sense.
when I hit the streets of Wandsworth, the fear was pushed in our faces. Capitol Studios, home to Backyard Cinema, closed. The pub next door, closed, with nothing but empty bar stools. The Street Cube, home to some eloquent street food, open in full flow. But then a sad sight, an old woman wearing a mask on her own outside. Again wondering whether they sanitize these buttons that so many touch. With many entrepreneurs having to turn to Tesco for jobs due to lockdowns, no doubt that would be open. Casper's next door, visibly closed. Rice Hair Salon, closed. A nearby phone box, the most hideous and unclean I've ever seen, filled with filth and details of an essential key worker, a he-male, she-male, always available. Get the fuck out of here. Vacky's Barbers closed for haircuts. With some businesses operating in restricted hours in order to survive this pandemic, the local dry cleaners is open. British Heart Foundation, a charity that helps the needy on low income, closed with nothing more than signs in the window. A yoga wellness plant-based shop closed with nothing more than signs in the window. Morley's across the street selling more shit food that will kill us off, open and allowed to operate. 10 minutes down the road, home to one of the greatest hospitals, is the UK's St George's Hospital. A place where many are finding themselves these days, with hospitals said to be overrun due to the lack of ventilators. Many are still admitted on a daily basis. Across the road is a graveyard, with vacancies filling up fast. Graveyards across the country are struggling. A great hospital with great reputation. 10 minutes down the road, with Uber Eats drivers packed on the sidewalk like sardines, are soon reached Wimbledon, faced with a giant road sign of COVID guidelines on entrance to the station. Inside, the posters and hand sanitizing stations were on deck. With major police cuts across the country, it's surprising when you do see them. The gelato ice cream shop closed, with many available to let. So too was Lush Cosmetics closed. Good to see a busker on the street trying to keep people's spirits alive. With a torrid traffic light system operating in the nearby Tesco's, what is society coming to? It was plain to see that homelessness is still a problem in the area, sadly. Right next to them, the entertainer ain't entertaining no kids with sales, closed. As you could hear, some like to talk to themselves. Some restaurants were operating on a strict click and collect basis. The local cinema and gym, all in one building, closed. Another local coffee shop closed, but shouting at us to please wear a face mask. Greg's next door, open, with only 4 people allowed in the shop at a time. Nice to see the local street food market operating, selling 100% vegan, organic Lebanese food. Little coffee cart operating. Old man by the bins, and to top it off, a happy chappy. 15 minutes down the road from Wimbledon, Sutton, with a massive police station known for its vital train links into the city. I think it's fair to say that this is my last stop. Nearby, Rush Beauty closed off with an available to let sign above. Another business not bouncing back from this. Rift & Co, former Revolutions, boarded off, looking like a building in disarray. I then walked down the street with many masked people in a rush to nowhere, with more boarded up shops on my right. And that next door, another beauty shop, closed, with nothing more than QR codes on show. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Just down the road, the Cock and Bull pub closed, boarded off, not needed, sad. Next to that, Casino closed, no money being made and no one getting lucky anytime soon. Ebb and Flow Bar closed for the foreseeable future. One thing's for sure, the banks will be making their money. Again on the street, there were giant signs of fear in my face. I couldn't avoid it. Clinton, cards, closed, Starbucks, open. Well, I do like a mocha, so that's all good. With some choosing to wear their masks on their chin. People were queuing in orderly fashion outside Marks and Spencer's, only to be upstaged by a scrummy old pigeon. Holland & Barrett and Superdrug open. At least I can see some essential shops that should be open. You can bet your bottom dollar through any pandemic the banks will win and never go broke. With majority of the shops either shut or available to let, many will go and bust with no chance of bouncing back. McDonald's was open, but shockingly, no queue for their shitty food. With all the pubs covered in metal shutters, it's sad to see they're suffering the most from all lockdowns. The gym at the bottom of the street closed with nothing but a "See you soon" letter in the window dated 19th of December. With the inside looking like a construction site. A giant hollow shell of unexercised misery. With the surrounding parks exercise equipment closed off for the public. Half the time, I see more masks on the floor than I do in people's faces. Then walking back past Marks and Spencer, I realised maybe I was wrong. Because I see mask after mask after mask after mask. 10 minutes up the road, St Helier Hospital, currently home to many ill patients, including those of COVID. I wonder how many have been admitted today, where tension has risen over the weeks as NHS staff are charged £500 a year for parking.
I've seen a lot on my travels. Many businesses shut. Once busy streets are now ghost towns. Places that are good for your physical and mental health shut, whilst they keep takeaways open, fatty, shitty food places open, which only sell processed, shitty foods, which piece by piece is killing us. And if we get ill, we have hardly no chance of recovery. Sit back and hold tight as we're continuously misled on this massive medicinal merry-go-round.
The weeks ahead will be the hardest yet, but I really do believe that we're entering the last phase of the struggle, because with every jab that goes into our arms, we are tilting the odds against COVID and in favour of the British people. And thanks to the miracle of science, not only is the end in sight, but we know exactly how we will get there.
With mass community testing now taking place in local areas and the rollout of vaccination across the country, over 100,000 deaths in the UK from COVID. The question is, will this be the last lockdown? Will they ever lock down again? I guess only time will tell, day by day, as we continue to unmask the truth.